So, I cut my hair after 4 years of having hair and all that it came with. I loved it. I still wish I had my hair. I don't really like my hairstyle, but I like it, I guess. But we'll get into that. I cut my hair. And I'm gonna tell you why, and I'm gonna tell you about vanity today. Those are the two main things I'm gonna speak about. Why I cut my hair and vanity. Its true essence, or at least what I believe, its true essence, and how it breathes life into your life and how it gets birthed. All right, so yes, I did cut it. It's gone, all of it. And I didn't do any fancy anything. I just cut it. Anyway, I think many of us think we know what vanity is. I think a lot of us think that vanity is vanity is seen in the guy who looks at himself every time he walks past the mirror. I think we all think that vanity is you being the type of person who, in a group project or in a project of any sort, you are the guy who cannot be told he's wrong, who believes only his answer is right, who does not want to take anyone else's advice. Vanity, we think that that's being vain. We think that the guy who's always taking selfies of himself is vain. We think that being boastful and super prideful about your accomplishments is a form of vanity. It is. Those are all forms of vanity, but it's not true vanity. It's not what matters in the context of vanity, at least. What actually matters is the true definition of vanity, is where it comes from, and what breathes life into all these other versions of vanity that we think are vanity, that we take to be a form of vanity. And once I decompose, it's not the right word, but you know what I mean. Once I break this down, I think you'll be able to understand what vanity truly is and how you are vain, even in ways that you don't even know that you are a vain person, or that you have vanity and how it rules over your life. Now, what vanity actually is, I need to get this right. Vanity is the inordinate preoccupation with what other people think of you. I'm going to say it again. The inordinate preoccupation with what other people think of you. Now, this changes everything. This shifts it from just being something that someone can accomplish if they're like super boastful or super extroverted. This means that even as a shy person, you can be vain. A lot of the times we think that people that are vain are super extroverted because they talk a lot, they always have the spotlight. That's not in its essence where it comes from. So even the guys that are shy can be vain or are just as vain. Vanity is the inordinate preoccupation with what other people think of you. What does this actually mean? Now, this basically just means that every action in your life, everything that you do, is governed by what other people think of you. This is when you are at a position where before you do act, take a step, move forward, dress up, decide to do anything that you want to do, raise your hand up in class, you are thinking about whether other people are going to think of you, and you are actively trying to control this perception that you want people to have of you, this image that you want people to view you. That is what vanity is born from, and that is what leads to all these other things that vanity gives birth to. Vanity gives birth to you not being able to stand up and tell your friends that they're wrong for saying something, that they're wrong for wanting to do something that you know is against your morals and your own philosophy, but you don't have the strength to stand up and say it because you're too afraid about them thinking that you're not cool, that you're not this, that, and the third, that you don't belong, or whatever the case is. You know, because we want to belong so much, and we want to look like we associate, or like we are part of whatever. I don't know, whatever, man. You understand what I'm saying. You know what you. I've put the thing in. I've put the seed in your mind now. Now you kind of understand every moment that you have been vain, where you want to wear something and you're like, nah, but like, that that is all that all comes from vanity. Now, why? Okay. A disclaimer before we go too far with this whole thing of caring too much about what other people think. And I strongly, and I'm gonna say this, this is like one of my favorite quotes from Michael Smoke. I don't know if it's his, but like he says it. Stop caring about what other people think, because nobody's caring about. Stop caring about what other people think because everyone else is too worried about themselves. So you are constantly worried about what other people are gonna think about if you say this, if you do this, if you try this new thing, if you dress like this, if you this, that, and the third. But everyone is so worried about themselves, about what other people think of them, about themselves. Everyone is so worried about them that they're not worried about you. It's all in your head. Now, a disclaimer, let me come back to the disclaimer. I'm not saying we shouldn't care. We shouldn't care what other people think about other people, because if you stop to care about other people and what other people think, you kind of become a sociopath and you kind of lose empathy and then you kind of become a bad person. You need to care about people, but you shouldn't have people's perceptions of you at the forefront of your mind. You shouldn't always be thinking, if I do this, someone's gonna think this. When do you do something that you actually want to do? When do you watch a show that you actually want? When do you listen to the music that you actually like? Stop caring about people are gonna think this. Stop doing things that are gonna make people think this, that, and the third about you. That is the point of that. Now, on to how to solve vanity, and then we'll get into how I decided to cut my hair. Well, now that I think about it in more depth. But anyway, to get rid of vanity or to try combat it, I guess, well, first of all, care about people, be empathetic, but then you kind of need to be bold. You need to be bold, and you need to trust in your identity. That is it. You need to know who you are. Who are you? What is your true identity? And for me, so much of my identity was tied to my hair. So much of my self-confidence, my belief in myself, me thinking that I look a certain type of attractive, came from my hair, my hairstyles, what people thought of me when I had certain hairstyles, because that could be tied to now the fact how I was treated when I had cheese scopes, bald head back in like primary school versus when in high school, in like matric and like first year of uni or whatever, and then I had different hair and then I started to grow my hair. That could be tied to that. Now, that made my identity, that made me worship, I wouldn't say worship, but like idolize my looks according to my hair. And my hair was such a big foundation of my looks and how I viewed myself to be a certain type of attractive. You know what I mean? So I never believed that like if you were to ask me, maybe even 2 months ago, would you cut your hair to this? I'd tell you never. That's impossible. Why would I ever do that? That's crazy. I'm not doing that. You know, if you would have told me that I'm gonna go bald in 5 years, I'd tell you that I'm gonna kill myself if I go bald. That's what it is. That's because so much of my identity was like tied to my hair, like so much of my confidence, even like my belief, my self-love. You know, that got me thinking that, do I really love myself for me, or am I in love, or do I love myself because of what other people say looks good on me? So now I love myself based off of that. Why can't I love myself for me and just for myself? You know what I mean? You know what I mean? Why can't you listen to the music that you actually like? Why can't you wear the clothes that you actually like? Why can't you be yourself? Why can't you do the things that you actually feel like you like doing? And your identity. If you have a car at like 19 and then everyone kind of becomes your friend and people start, you know, and you never had that. 17, 16, 18, 15, whatever, you never had those types of friends, or you never had a lot of friends, or you never had that clout, and now you get it, and you've probably wanted that clout. Now that you get a car, now people associate with you. Now people want to associate with you. You're gonna associate your identity to that car. You're gonna associate your clout, which is something you like. So now you get car, and then you get clout, and then now you are happy because now you have the thing that you had been longing for, which is like bonding and relationships and people's admiration. Now you get that from the car. That means that a part of you starts to place your identity in this car of yours that you have just gotten. Because now certain people look at you a certain way and you feel a certain way because now you kind of got this car, you know what I'm saying? Like, you know, so yeah, like that's all, you know. I just cut my hair because I believe that my identity is far more than just having a certain haircut. You know, my identity is found through Christ, you know. And if I can't love myself or even be at peace with myself, let alone love myself without hair, then I never was ever at peace with myself. At the end of the day, hair will grow back, and it will grow back, and I think I'm gonna stay with this length of hair for a while. I don't like it, but it's so much more practical in the morning.